Okay, here we go. Episode number 100. Pretty big milestone, I would say. A little bit of a gap between 99 and 100, I think about 2 weeks. And I know I was going to do a Q&A podcast for number 100. And I still have the questions that I'm going to answer written out. And eventually I'll get to that. But I have a few episodes with guests that I'm going to launch first. And the reality is, life got in the way a little bit of the Q&A podcast. And I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. Tried to release every Monday, and I have that expectation set for myself. But the reality is, sometimes I'm not the most disciplined. Sometimes I do let my life get in the way. And sometimes I fall short of the expectations that I set for myself, and often the expectations that others set for me. But it is what it is. Moving on. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by longtime sponsor, Onnit. Onnit is a human optimization platform. They have something for everybody who is interested in optimizing their life. They have the Onnit 6 Bodyweight Program, which is a full-body transformative workout you can do in the comfort of your own home in just 6 weeks. They have my favorite nootropic, which is Alpha Brain, and it also has a free trial. They have the Total Human Packs, which are convenient day and night, complete with essential vitamins, minerals, herbs, amino acids, and again, all designed around to optimize yourself. There's a day and a night pack, makes it very easy. They have MCT oil, they have protein snacks, they have fitness gear, they have apparel. They have a variety of things that you can use to optimize your health, wellness, and the human platform that you walk around in every day. Onnit.com, ONNIT.com/hot. And you'll know you're at the landing page because you're going to see the podcast logo front and center for you to take a look at. This podcast is also brought to you by the Atlas 400. So let's go on a little bit of a journey here. And this journey and what I'm about to discuss, it's not really for everybody. But for some, what I'm about to discuss and talk about could literally change your life. Like John Dudley and Joe and I discussed on our recent hunting roundtable, the older that we all get, the more selective we are about who we choose to share our life with. Our time is limited, especially our free time. And it's important to surround yourself with people who are positive, who inspire you, who possess shared values, like personal responsibility and individual freedom. And perhaps what could be even more difficult for you is finding folks who've achieved comparative levels of success that you have. And perhaps the hardest quality of all to find in somebody or in a group would be folks that share the passion to experience the best that life has to offer. What you may not know is there's a whole world of friends out there, people who are like you, who are like me, who they love ideas, they love adventure, and they've never conformed or settled, and they don't want to be like others. And instead, they want to be more fully themselves. And who are these folks? Well, they are the members of the Atlas 400. Back in 2009, a handful of successful entrepreneurs created the Atlas 400 to surround themselves with the best and smartest people in the world and to experience the best life has to offer. Their idea hasn't just inspired a few people. It's kind of taken off, and it's become something even bigger than any of them expected it would become. The Atlas 400 mission is simple. Extraordinary people in extraordinary places doing extraordinary things. Now, how do they achieve this? 8 to 10 times a year, the group hosts amazing adventures around the world. Over the past decade, they have successfully summited Kilimanjaro twice, spent 7 days in Antarctica at the continent's only civilian camp, and where 9 of the 88 civilians to reach the South Pole that year were part of that group. They've raced the Baja 1000. They've trekked through both Argentine and Chilean portions of Patagonia, driven through Ferraris through the Tuscan countryside, visiting Italy's top vineyards, classic pairing. And that's just a sampling of what they've done. These trips get people out of their daily routines and out of their comfort zones and place them in a faraway land with a group of like-minded people. That's the way to build friendships, to make lasting relationships. It's easy to open up when you've spent a day in a race car with somebody or zip line across the rainforest with them. It's different from your typical business or social interaction. The Atlas 400 believes that business first is the wrong way to go about life. You need to focus on your relationships, and opportunities will inevitably spring from those relationships. So if you're interested in learning more about membership in the Atlas 400, go to theatlas400.com/signup. That's theatlas400.com/signup. So I'm going to spell that. It's THEATLAS and then the numbers 400.com/signup. The people with whom you share your life, spend your time, and trust influence you in profound ways over time. I definitely personally can say that almost everything good that has happened to me in my life happened because of somebody that I knew and from a relationship that I had made along the way. So imagine yourself in the company of over 100 of the world's most accomplished people, traveling the world, enjoying new friendships, having new adventures, discovering enormous new opportunities. If you're interested, check it out. theatlas400.com/signup. On to the episode for today. 3 guests, 2 of which are related. One is a longtime returning guest to the podcast. So we'll start with Travis. He is the vice president of SBG International. It stands for Straight Blast Gym International. He is also the owner of the SBG gym where I am learning jiu-jitsu in Kalispell. And the Flathead Valley is actually pretty amazing when it comes to jiu-jitsu. There's 1, 2, 3 in the valley. And if you're listening to this and you live south of the Flathead Valley, there's also one in Missoula, so you need to go check that out as well. He is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and pretty much every time we roll, whips my ass. So, Travis Davison. Did I even say his name at the beginning? If I didn't, I just did. So, Travis Davison. Then there are the Singer brothers, who, this is the first time I've actually had the chance to sit down and talk with them together. Possibly, arguably, the funniest duo on the face of the planet. So Adam Singer is basically a rocket surgeon. He is a scientist. He is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he is a co-owner of SBG Athens with his brother, Rory Singer. Rory Singer is also freaking genius, but he's also previously an MMA fighter. He's also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He fought in the UFC. He goes into his record a little bit, and both of them actually introduce themselves a little bit, but together they own SBG Athens. If you're in the Athens area in Georgia, you absolutely need to go check it out. Their facility, their programming, and their training and coaching is unbelievable. So do yourself a favor if you're in that area and go check it out. So episode number 100, breaking into the triple digits with Adam and Rory Singer and Travis Davison. Enjoy.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. You're cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
Whatever, dude.
Just saying.
How about a step on your dick?
How about pot, kettle, black?
That's super racist. It's 2019. You can't be racist like that.
You know what? Enough people pick on the Jews that you guys don't need to pick on each other.
I like to say I love to see color. I see height and weight and color and every difference we have, and I just assume you're an asshole regardless.
But isn't it the differences that make us unique in who we are and the culture awesome? I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a place that's identical. That'd be boring as hell.
It is boring.
We grew up in what's called the Jewish ghetto, right?
Okay.
So 90% of the kids we grew up with were white, Jewish, and socioeconomically probably higher than us because our parents got divorced.
Where was this?
Marlboro, New Jersey.
Okay.
Central New Jersey. And the only kind of diversity that I don't ever want is socioeconomic. But I would have liked a little more diversity. I didn't meet black guys till I went in the Navy.
Really?
Yeah, in New York, we didn't live in a place where there were a lot of black people. We didn't go to places with a lot of black people. There was a lot of separation.
I didn't even know you were in the Navy. The black part doesn't interest me at all. Tell me about your naval service. I feel like you were like a nuclear tech on a submarine because I didn't realize how ridiculously smart you are. I started understanding it when you were texting me about skydiving. I'm like, oh, you're taking this way too deep. Smile, relax, and let gravity do its thing.
So I told him last night.
This is true.
Because I wanted to tell you this. I told him last night. I emailed you expecting you to texted you expecting you to give me some advice, and it was not the advice I'd expected, but it was the perfect advice. It was someone that had obviously given that advice to people in stressful situations. Because had you said any more than that, it wouldn't have been helpful. All you said was smile and relax, or relax and breathe. That's
Yep.
what you said. And I was like, okay.
What do you think I was going to say?
Make sure you look at the risers and pull down on the thing. But you wouldn't have said that.
Why would I have said any of those things?
I don't know, because sometimes coaches say too much.
For sure.
Sometimes I've seen a fighter start to panic in the back, and not one of my fighters, but a fighter panic in the back, and their coach is talking to them too much. Teaching them techniques in the back room, right? This infuriates me.
Like in a fight?
No, in the locker room. They're teaching them something new.
Right before a fight. Yeah. Oh, that's optimal timing.
So I do a lot of the traveling and the coaching, and have been there with amateurs at the smallest of shows to the bigger pro shows, obviously. But I remember being in the back sometime last year, and a coach was teaching his fighter how to defend a jab. But yet this person was going to go out and take on competing against another human being, trying to more or less murder them, and he was then learning a jab.
See, I don't know anything about competitive fighting, but I feel that that's like a mandatory piece of knowledge before you would ever enter into that arena.
Yeah, a jab is kind of an important punch. I mean, I'm not a boxer, but I think jab's pretty important.
But I've been in rooms where that was being taught before an amateur debut.
How does that generally go in your experience? Does it overload the person trying to receive it?
Breathe and relax.
Well, I'm just thinking if you were to tell somebody that, they'd probably be thinking about that while they're getting punched in the face. They might be better off if you just shut your mouth and let them go with what they already know.
Nothing gets learned the hour before your fight.
It's just a weird
nothing
dynamic.
gets learned.
Most people aren't very good coaches.
I would agree.
But you've
I
probably
wasn't
had
coaching you, by the way. I just was like, what's the best thing I can tell you? Smile and relax. Those are the
But that
easiest
is
cues.
coaching.
Kind of.
That's not instructing. I thought you were going to instruct me.
No.
But I didn't want to be instructed.
I didn't want to instruct.
And you were a coach. Breathe and relax.
Yeah.
It's like when your wife tells you about her problems, but she doesn't want you to give solutions. She just wants you to listen.
You didn't marry a Jewish woman.
No, I didn't.
She just wants to repeat them over and over and over and over and over and over and over. She doesn't want anything else.
I don't know if that's just specific to Jewish wives.
Maybe. Maybe it's a women thing. I've only really dated one woman my whole life and then married her. So I'm not totally sure. I have a Jewish mother and a Jewish wife. I just assume it's a Jewish thing.
Okay. Let's not think that you're going to get out of talking about the Navy, by the way.
Did you? So I was impressed that I had gotten out of that.
No, you haven't.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Tell me about your naval service. When were you in?
All right. So let me go on record.
All right.
A lot of it's still classified.
Oh, perfect.
Right? So we can talk about what's not classified. You know exactly.
Sure, of course, yeah.
All right. It was a complete and utter failure. So what you sussed out spending some time with me is that I am an academic, I am an intellectual, I am generally a pussy in most areas of my life, except for when I'm on the mat or in the cage. I don't like the bugs, I don't like the cold, I don't like the dirt. But I convinced myself, all right, my father was abusive. And I tried to be everything he wasn't.
Yep.
So our father was a diver in the Navy.
Like a hard hat diver?
I believe so. He was stationed in the Aleutian Islands.
So just straight Navy diver?
Yes.
I don't mean that pejoratively.
But it was intelligence, but that's just
yeah.
what...
Yeah, but...
Okay.
I think, yeah. So I was going to be a SEAL.
It's a bad call.
So I had...
Wrong reason, for sure.
Shitty career path.
But I didn't want to be... I didn't want to be a SEAL.
Yeah.
I'm not cut out for that.
You were fairly cut out.
No, just let me finish my story. I don't need any interjection from you. Not cut out for me. And so I went into the Navy. That was what I was going to be. I failed. Class 185 and then 187.
You went to Bud's twice?
No, I stayed in because they liked me.
Okay.
Because I was motivated.
After Hell Week, by the way. So, I mean...
You made it through Hell Week?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you tell me all these stories when we first met?
Did not.
You did not make it through Hell Week? Your brother's saying you
made
did.
it to Hell Week.
Made it to Hell Week. All right. All right. So you didn't want to be a SEAL, but you went down that pipeline anyway. I could have told you.
No, I thought I wanted to be a SEAL. I thought that's what I needed to be.
85% of people who go to Bud's thought they wanted to be a SEAL.
Look, he was like a green belt in judo, so I eventually became
Yep.
a third stripe black belt. He was a petty bully, so I became a really good MMA fighter. He was a shitty dad. I'm a great dad. He was a shitty husband.
Yeah.
He liked science but didn't have the brain power I had. I'm really good at science. So that, as I went, I almost became a cop, too, because he was a fucking cop.
Really?
I got out of the Navy. I'm like, oh, I'll just go be a cop.
What was your career like after Buds? What'd you do in the Navy?
I left the Navy.
After Buds?
Yeah.
How'd you get out?
I do not have a dishonorable discharge.
Okay, perfect.
But it was not the best year and 10 months of my life.
Which is not uncommon, actually. You watch, when I went back as a Buds instructor, which I think I've said this before. It was
I
actually
didn't tell you any of this, by the way, because it's embarrassing. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, if you want, I can go through the litany of embarrassing things that I've done in my life, and believe me, they will far exceed that.
I would like to hear them at some point.
I look back at my career. The tour I did as a Buds instructor was actually, I think, the most rewarding out of everything I did in my career, because you got to see these young kids and you actually got to mold the community. And I would go back and understand why we did training evolutions, which made no sense as a student. You like one day you're like, oh yeah, I did awesome. The next day you do exactly the same thing and you just get your dick smashed into the ground. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then you go back and you're like, oh, okay. But I got to spend time with the students who made the decision to drop. And they were, by and large, dealing with a lot of issues, and they were loading up a pretty rough 6 to 12 months of their life. So yeah. I would assume what you experience is pretty common for people in that pipeline who go that particular path. I was not going to be cut out for where they send those guys. Yeah. Well, and the time that you went through as well. So you went through, let me see, 187, 6 classes a year. So you're about 2 or 3 years before me, because I went in through 212.
Yes.
That was a rough time.
Yeah. It's because what is interesting is they would pipeline people in, and you had to go to an A school first. Which one did you go to? Gunner's Mate. So he was a GM. I was an OS. I was like, what's the actual shortest school that I can go to just to get the Buds? So I'd have been a radar scope operator. So you know what the longest school is? Is it GM? It is. That's not an apt use of the intelligence that you were talking about to pick that school. Well, when I got a 99.99 on the ASVAB, yeah, like nuke school. They said the same thing to me. I did not get that score, though. I think I got 1 point above where they just say, hey, do you want to go into the nuke school? Which made me just smart enough to say absolutely not, because I don't want to glow or be in a submarine for the rest of my life. Yeah, there's no way in hell I ever would have done that. But so you had to go to, because of the attrition rate, you had to go to a school first, and then if you didn't make it, they sent you to the fleet, which is obviously the opposite experience of what these people want, and they have discipline problems. They have it becomes a shit show. I couldn't be around those people. So, yeah, like, if I was going to be in the military, I wanted to be around people like that. Yeah. I don't. So when the idea of being in the bottom of a ship I didn't choose, washing dishes, and being with people that I didn't necessarily choose, I couldn't stomach it. Which is not uncommon. And now it's different. So Buds is now its own A school because they created a SEAL rate, SO. Makes sense. It does, but I don't know what they do with guys when they don't make... The attrition rate is still the same. They have spent so much money trying to just round the bell curve off, and the throughput is almost identical. So I don't know what they do with those guys. Even with the recruiting they're doing from... With the recruiting they're doing, and now, from my understanding, there's a 14 to 16-week training pipeline that leads up, which is competitive to get into. So they're doing entire boot camp divisions of people that are going to go towards the initial SEAL pipeline who are then going to go to Buds. And the throughput is almost identical. That's crazy. It just shows the curriculum works. And it'll still work until they start modifying it in the hopes that, to facilitate diversity, in air quotes. Okay. Everything will be fine until they start messing with the standards. Do you think a woman could get through it? Is it physiologically possible? Yes. I think, though, what's the point of going through all that time, energy, and effort to prove that a woman could get through that course? Because you're going to have to make changes, which is not an excuse. So SEAL training is now open to women candidates. It has been, I think, for 4 years. Okay. To my knowledge, there have been 2 women who have attempted the pre-training program through the Naval Academy, because they do, I know very little about the Naval Academy, but they do something in the summertime where they'll go out to the occupation that they want to aim for later in their career. And both of the women have quit in that week-long, I think they call it mini buds. So it is open to women. I think it would take an incredible amount of recruiting effort and, like I said, time, energy, and money to find the woman that could make it through. Okay. And I think it is possible. And if that happened, I'd give that woman a high five and serve with her absolutely no problem whatsoever.
What population do you think that woman would come from?
A lot of people would say they would come from the CrossFit world, like the exercise. And when they say that because of the physiological demands of it, and if you can work out that hard that often, there's some probably some psychological toughness as well too.
For sure.
But it takes more than it just takes more than that as well. I don't know. I don't know if it'd be a power lifter. I don't know if it would be. It wouldn't be an ultra endurance athlete because they wouldn't have a woman's frame from that world would not have the strength required. So I don't know necessarily, but I think it's possible. And I don't care. That's my biggest thing. And I've always said this is I don't care because I get asked this all the time when I speak in front of organizations. Usually it's a woman will raise her hand and say, are there any women who are in the SEAL teams? And I'll kind of explain the history. And not until 5 years ago was it open, but all special operations now are. And they usually will follow that with, well, do you think you're missing anything when it comes to diversity? It's like, well, I don't know. Are we aiming for diversity? Or are we aiming for meeting this standard? And the standard is based off what we're encountering on the battlefield, which doesn't give a shit about diversity.
Right. So when you're talking about something physical, it would be different if we were talking about like a brain power that's untapped. So like if women in India are not getting opportunities to go to college and become chemists or astrophysicists, that's 10 million women, or more. I'm making up numbers that could be inputting their brain power into the collective human intelligence. But you think the number is so low?
I totally believe in equality of opportunity, like you're describing it. Those people should actually, everybody should have the opportunity. I do not believe in equality of outcome. No. Like the standard has to be what is held true, and you either meet the standard or you do not. Well, and when you start deviating the standard for the end state of just increasing your diversity for diversity's sake, I think it's a recipe for disaster. In my personal opinion, from what I've seen in that career.
Well, I think there's another pitfall to that line of thinking as well that I think people overlook too often, which is they first have to actually want the outcome. Like it could be that women don't necessarily want to be a SEAL as well. And then diversity now requires and forces somebody who maybe doesn't like math and science to do math and science to fill a quota. So it might not even be that the results are the same or different. It might just be that those individuals, for whatever reason, don't gravitate towards those fields or that particular topic. And
I think there's a lot of career fields that are like that. Like I don't remember seeing a lot of pictures of women coal miners back in the like there's just certain occupations that just are, I think, not natural. I don't know the correct terminology for it without pissing off the internet, but just some career fields seem to draw certain personality types, which generally seem to be associated with gender.
Sure, and my daughter plays by her own rules. She wrestles and she sings and acts and dances, and she's really good at science and math. She has no interest in a career in science and math.
Which is okay.
Which is fine. I mean, do whatever the hell you want. But she won't not have a career in science and math because something stood in her way. Because I don't believe that that's the case anymore. Not in engineering, not in medicine, not in science. If a girl wants to go into those fields, the doors are held wide open for them.
The STEM career fields, if you will?
Well, and now what they call the STEAM fields, which should also alert you to an issue.
STEAM. Explain that one.
Just add art.
Art. So there is a push in engineering schools and science schools to take into account I'm not going to say social justice, but
you can say
social
justice. I feel like you wanted to say.
I did say. And so STEM seemed to be leaving some people out because art is science too.
Well, your point plays on Andy's point where if it's not been open for 5 years and there are people who want to do it, then those people now have that opportunity to do it. Well, so your point, I'm just saying, is proven enough. Like, if no one wants to do it, then now there's nothing holding them back.
Well, correct. The cool thing is if you go to countries, say, like Sweden, which would be considered very progressive.
Yes.
And then you look at the number of women in Sweden, a country that is very, I don't even know what term you would use, but...
Equitable?
Equitable, thank you. what you find isn't that more women are doing what would have normally be considered a man's job or in the sciences. You actually find the opposite, where there's more freedom of choice like that. The women are actually more on the, let's say, the feminine side of the scale. They exhibit more of the traditional female characteristics. It's not what people think. That's not what I'm suggesting is that maybe females are attracted and drawn to and have a different role than males. And that's okay.
There's an addendum to your point in that societies that are less well off will find more women working in fields like engineering and things where good money can be made, but it's not necessarily the choice they would have made in an egalitarian society where they were allowed to do whatever they want. They're almost forced because what careers pay the most money? Engineering is one of those. Medicine is one of those.
For sure.
You see this in India.
Yeah, makes sense. It
And
makes sense
India, India has some male-female issues culturally, yet it seems like there's more of a balance. But that's because they don't have a choice.
What you said about adding the art thing got me thinking about something. So you have I would say, pretty, seems like from a academic perspective, a linear thought process, science-based.
I have a scientific method-based thought process.
Does art and creativity enhance that or detract from it? Like adding the A to the STEM, is that good or bad in your opinion?
It depends what field of science we're talking about. I would think that being creative would be of a benefit. And I'm not saying that a well-rounded education wouldn't include art, music, literature. I think all those things are important. You know, I've read the Bible because I realized early in my life that it was going to be important for me to understand everything at a higher level. And so maybe art plays a role in someone being well-rounded. And I don't know if you read, I can't believe I just drew a blank. I'm sorry. Can we edit all this out? Right?
No. And now that you've asked me to, absolutely not.
Range by David Epstein.
I have not read it.
And his
book.
He had written The Sports Gene previously, and it's a really good book.
I did read that one.
Okay. And the point is, and I think we all will see this, the more well-rounded someone was, the more likely they would become a success even in one field, in the field they chose. It only didn't apply in a couple areas where it was obvious that early specialization was going to be needed. Golf, as an example.
Brain surgery.
No, so they found brain surgeon, you'd be better off having a brain surgeon that was well-rounded and not one that decided at 12 years old they were going to be a doctor and just geared everything towards that.
I think I want that guy operating on my noodle, though.
I don't know. I don't know. I think you should read the book.
I will. I asked that question, though, because I think back, when I say art, I guess I meant more creativity. I was thinking back, and the best tacticians, if people look at the military or my old job, they would think it would be very rigid, probably from stereotypes, like you will do what you're told, which is like the exact opposite of how we actually interfaced. The best tacticians I've ever seen on the battlefield were some of the most creative people that I've ever seen. They took the world in front of them, and they just had an ability to navigate through it and come up with new ideas. I'm thinking about all you guys obviously sitting at the table with a jiu-jitsu background. I suspect that creativity probably plays highly into your level of jiu-jitsu at some point.
I think creativity plays into a high level of everyone's personal jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, not deviating from the fundamentals, but I guess making it your own and going down your own path.
I would think that's in a more general sense, the overall creativity of jiu-jitsu drives evolution.
Yeah, and when I hear creativity, I think it's creative people tend to be more open-minded. I think that's a benefit regardless of if jiu-jitsu or the military or brain surgeon. I think it, and again, I'm just making this up, but it seems like your artists, your musicians, your writers, your creative types tend to be a little bit more open and experimental and, willing to kind of step outside of their box. And I think that trait definitely can lead to innovation and, new ways of thinking about things, maybe new ways. If you're an MMA coach, it might lead you in a direction that, somebody who was really straight and just on a rigid path might not see a tool that is available.
I think a lot of times as coaches, what we see is someone being creative, and then we can make an initial judgment if that's something we'd like to pursue or not. So, I'm not creative necessarily myself as an MMA coach, but I when I see people being creative, then I can absorb or reject some of those things and bring them in and play with them.
You see trends, and then you're willing to say, well, there's some evidence that's been working in some high-level fights and by some high-level fighters, and maybe even some, not always the higher level, because it's trickled down a little bit, and you see other people using it that aren't at that same level. So therefore, it's got a proof of learning. Like, this person's doing it at level A, this person's doing it double A.
But
no one can see your hands, though, when you build, levels.
So I'm supposed to sit on my hands?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do
with my hands.
No one's going to know.
But it's not going to help.
But no one's
saying it's not helping.
No one's going to. No
but
one can
you
see
it. And that's important.
Just put your hands in your lap.
I feel like people would imagine that you're doing that. When you talk about making levels, people are naturally... But I like it when you guys argue. You guys should work it out between yourselves. In a fight, who would win between you two?
What kind of fight?
You pick.
Of wits? Probably Adam. Would still be Adam.
Which would be called a battle of wits, not a fight of wits. So right there. So it's 1-0 just today. That's a really good question.
He asked...
Jiu-Jitsu match?
Sure, we'll start there.
Me and my brother
All
the
right.
same question.
Yeah.
All right.
I know the answer, so I'm going to tell you.
Go ahead. Answer.
5-minute jiu-jitsu match.
10.
IBJJF, well, 10 even. IBJJF points-based, gold medal podium.
Gi.
God damn, I don't know all the options, guys. I'm new to this.
You're a blue belt.
You're a goddamn.
I did my
You're a
first comp team
belt.
class the other day, and
You're
Travis was
a blue-
explaining to me the point system
is
because I
true.
don't play for points.
No, and you don't need to know that. So that's why he's going to say he'd win that match.
I win that match.
Okay.
No time limit, as Coach Matt likes to say, somebody in the room with the gun to your family's head. He probably wins that one.
He'll grind it out over time.
Do you remember when you asked me and my brother the same question? The podcast never aired because of the blackout.
Yeah, we had a great blackout of 2019.
It's so funny the way you answered that question. It was the exact same. I was Adam and Ricky was you. And I admitted straight up that Ricky would win. He was better at that sort of thing. But when it came to a real knockdown, drag out, he even said my brother.
Yeah, so let's take it to the octagon now. So now we're out of the IBJJF world. Now you guys are in the octagon. Who wins?
I think I probably do.
You're the older brother, right?
I think I just, I think I could put Rory on his back in the clinch, and then the top man's always got the advantage, even though Rory's got a really, really sick guard game.
Okay, now we're at an Irish bar, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and there's a bicycle laying there you could smash over his head and bar stool.
Have I had more than one beer?
Yes.
All right, then I'm incapable of doing that. I'm done at that point.
He's drunk. One beer and he's drunk.
Yeah, I've lost that fight.
I win.
And I don't know. I've never been in any kind of street altercation.
Which is awesome,
I
actually.
bounced for a couple of years, but it's a college bar, and I had to put 2 people in underhooks and throw them out. But I've never been in anything, so I have no idea. I don't even know if I could defend myself.
I feel like you could.
Some shit. We could be at a bar tonight, and some shit could happen. I have no idea if I'll be in the fucking corner.
How do you deal with this guy, Travis?
I'm just being honest.
very carefully.
Oh, you know what I realized we completely forgot to do?
What?
You guys should probably introduce yourselves. We're only 30 minutes into this, though. So, yeah, you guys
I
need
just
to...
thought this was warm-up.
You've been recording this whole time?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
the big red.
So-
the big red
Yeah.
wine.
That
Here's
REC
I had a
is
question.
short for record.
Okay, you can answer the question, but
What?
you still have to...
Okay, we'll do it.
Good.
What could Rory do to increase his survivability if he fell off the falls tonight? Like if he fell in the water right above where
don't fall in the water.
No, but let's say he's leaning over and he's looking and he
dead.
accidentally loses balance. Now he's in the water.
Immediately
right before
get
he goes
out.
Over.
Immediately get out of the water.
That thing is moving.
What should he do?
fast.
Hold his breath, blow his breath out.
You can hold your breath all you want to, and you
cover.
smash into the rocks at whatever velocity you're going to. Have you seen the volume of water?
It's incredible.
Yeah, you're screwed. There's nothing he can do other than get out of the water.
Somebody survived. What do you think they did to
survive.
survive?
Got lucky.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think they probably, I'm assuming that wherever the water is landing, it's
I don't believe in luck.
rocky underneath that. They probably hit in between. I don't know.
It's coincidence. It's coincidence.
I'm going to make something up again.
Yes, sir.
But I think that the erosion from the falls, that they move 2 feet every year just through erosion.
No, it's 2 inches.
2 inches?
It's 2 inches.
Well, that's not as impressive.
But in some amount of years, it's going to listen.
You sure it's 2 inches?
I'm
I thought it was 2
In
feet.
the 6,000 years that this Earth has been around,
This very flat Earth.
it has moved, whatever 6,000 times 2 inches is. That's what we can
12,000.
find. So it's just right about there. Okay. That's where it started. After the floods receded.
My name is Rory Singer.
Thank you.
I'm a Gemini.
You have
it
a
is
great
true,
head of hair, too. They
It's
can't
thinning.
see that on
It
you.
is thinning a little bit, I am honest. But regardless, I still am Rory Singer.
Like salon quality Anchorman hair.
It's terrible. Oh,
He hates
You
it, by
have
the way.
no hair.
He hates it, by the way.
Yeah.
I know. I tried.
I co-own, along with my brother and my very dear friend Lucas, SBG Athens. And I'm a former professional fighter and now academy owner.
You left out, like, third season The Ultimate Fighter.
There are some other aspects
You left
that...
out fast.
Don't make people Google you, just-
Oh, you want all of it?
Let's
Dude, I'll give
send it.
I'll give all.
Yeah.
I was on season 3 of The Ultimate Fighter. Made it to the semifinals where I lost to Ed Herman. Went
One
on
of
to
my
be
students.
2-2 in the UFC. Where in my very first fight, I submitted Ross Poynton in 44 seconds, which still is the middleweight record for fastest submission.
How'd you get him?
Triangle. Submission of the night that night also, which was a stunning $5,000.
Error of the
Pre-tax
big money.
$5,000 at that.
Yes.
It was so I had that going for me, and then went on to fight a few more times, and then fight some other places, and sort of retire or go on an extended hiatus, which I'm still on because I never officially retired. So you never know when I'm coming back.
That's the way to do it. I like it. Keep people on their toes.
On your toes, and like around 2009,
Okay. Extended hiatus.
a little bit. You think I'm coming back? I just do a little jiu-jitsu here and there for the IBJJF and some others, NFC, super fights. So you never know. When is he going to jump back in?
I've always respected. I could never compete. I had one like slap fight many years ago when they were first legal in Georgia, and I did not like it at all.
A slap fight?
You didn't even say what your name is.
I'll get there. They used to have pancration.
I like the way he
fights.
rolls.
They had
He just does his own
open
thing.
hand.
Is that what does pancration mean?
It was like open hand. You couldn't close.
But it's
your
grappling
fist.
with open
yeah,
hand?
It was
Okay.
MMA with open hand.
Okay.
And
Stand up or striking, just kickboxing
But you can't close
based.
it up?
90.
Standing up, you could.
What is it? 95.
It was 99 that we fought.
99? All right. Sometime between 95 and 99, we decided that if we were going to do this thing, we might as well go fight. When I did not want to, but I figured we had to. And so we showed up at the Armory in Griffin, Georgia. And we showed up, and we weren't blue belts yet, but we had wrestled in high school, and we were doing some Jeet Kune Do and some kickboxing stuff. We hadn't met you guys yet. I think we met you guys
99 is when we met.
short after this fight. And we went, we showed up, and we were paired with just some other schmoes. And I'm like, all right, I think we can beat some other schmoes. So, right? I mean, that's the level we were at. We're at the
One
schmo-
level of a schmo can beat another level of a schmo.
If you're at the same level.
Right.
There are schmo
We
levels.
weighed the same. We were schmoes. We went out to TGI Fridays. We sat, and even during TGI Fridays, I'm like, you sure you don't want to just go home? Because we could get in the car and just go home. I'm not, I'm good.
I can just feel your eye of the tiger headspace before these competitions.
Go home.
I was not going home.
So he's like, don't go home. So we get back to the arena, and the schmoes' names were erased on the whiteboard, and under my name, it says Bull Shaw, And in the Rory's name, it says Comprido Medeiros. So those names don't mean anything yet.
Rodrigo Comprido Medeiros.
So Bull Shaw was an Old Miss offensive lineman who outweighed me by about 60 pounds, and Jacare blue belt. He had been a blue belt world champion, which in those days was pretty good. And Comprido Medeiros had just won the brown belt worlds in Brazil, had flown up here to fight, and then was going to be given his black belt. And then
you were paired against him, Rory?
So for those of us just joining us, this is my brother Adam Singer to the right of me telling you this story. I'm going to introduce him. But yes, he, as a part of his getting a black belt from Jacare Cavalcante, like the older Jacare, the aligned Jacare, not the one who fights, not that guy.
I don't know who any of them are.
Outstanding. I'll tell you later.
He did an alligator.
Yeah, I did do the alligator.
He did.
Black Jacare.
So
Racist, I apologize.
he came to get his black belt. He needed to have a fight.
Right.
So my brother and I had been training for about 2 years, like 97 to 99. We've been training sort of
stick fighting and knife fighting.
A little bit of jiu-jitsu. We did a little bit of boxing. We might have met some other coaches and just been training for a very brief amount of time with them. So it's 1999, and this thing pops up, and Adam says to me, we were talking about it, I guess, like, why don't we just put this all together? Let's just see what it's like to put this all together. We'd been doing it for a very short amount of time, so we took this fight because it was a low-level amateur experience.
So thought you, apparently.
So we thought, and then I'm fighting a brown belt world champion.
So I said, when I saw those names, I said the most heroic thing that I've ever said in my life. I said, can we fucking go home now? I'll concede these 2 matches. And he's like, no.
And I still wouldn't go home.
I fought first, and there may or may not be a video if someone were to Google the names that I have said, but I'm not going to repeat them again. You just rewind. Put a commercial there, too. They came out in a Gracie train with the whole hood and shit. And I lost in the first round. I threw the guy, though, because I wrestled.
It's a pretty good first.
It's a pretty decent.
It was a pretty good round. Listen, he lost to a guy who was better than him and more experienced, but put him on his back and then tried to do some catch wrestling bullshit he had learned like 2 weeks prior to it. Don't go to seminars and try and do that shit 2 weeks later.
I tried a shin lock.
You tried a shin lock.
Which has never been successfully done.
On a shin.
While getting choked. I thought I was going to damage his shin.
Like, you thought you were going to break it?
For sure. I was totally going to break his shin before I went unconscious. But I had to tap out. Rory's guy comes out in a Gracie train. They take off his sweatshirt. He has a gi that's patched with sponsors from head to toe, old-ass brown belt.
That's probably like a bad indication, I would say.
He lost way worse than I did.
Took my elbow a little time to recover from the popping before I was even able to tap. And then that point, I can't fucking tap. And I've already missed that part. And then the next tap that came took about 6-7 months for my elbow to feel right. The guy he beat in the finals had to drive back from South Georgia to Pennsylvania with a broken arm.
He broke the other guy's elbow.
And then 2 days.
Yeah.
And then, mine was more like a Kimura something or other.
Schmoes didn't know.
Schmoes didn't know.
That just seems ridiculously irresponsible to put that level of experience.
Who was the promoter of that?
Black Belt 2 days later.
Of course.
A promoter that went on to promote a lot of fights, but it was back then. It was still the Wild West. Jacare was a big name. He brought a lot of fights.
He was going to take his fighters and leave.
Yeah, he said he was
specific. It was like, I'm going to take my football and go home. He did that, but said, we're all going to go. I won't even try and do the Brazilian accent, Portuguese accent. But we're going to take all of our people and go if you don't let this fight happen.
What are you doing with your fingers?
This is why I should have been on camera.
This is why I use.
Should have been on camera.
But this is why I use headsets, because if we had microphones on the table, they'd be everywhere. This way,
he would have already knocked them off the table.
Like, we had these other 2 fighters. We were happy to fight them.
Yeah. I wasn't.
And we should have fought them.
I would have lost to them also. It would have
not a chance.
Look, I fought one more fight ever, a Golden Gloves match. And it started, like, I couldn't even warm up. It started, and then it, started. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm good. I'm cashing my chips. That's the cash in the chips symbol
at the casino?
At the casino. I'm out. I'm good.
I have to assume you love jiu-jitsu, right?
I love boxing and jiu-jitsu and MMA. And
so why'd you get into it, though? Did you?
I just love
coaching.
I love coaching, and I like working out. Remember,
I get that.
I was the training partner for a lot of the heavyweights in Georgia for a long time. I was one of their best training partners.
No, he does all the things. He gets on the mat and grapples. Yeah. He was training with Forrest Griffin and Todd Duffy and Carmelo Marrero, back in the day. Doesn't like to compete in front of crowds.
Well, I remember when we got back together, right after we had I
don't think it's crowds either. I think I'm just
but you and I made an agreement right after we hooked back up. And
I could beat up all the scientists that I work with. Like if any of them challenged me under the microscope, but
you were supposed to compete at Grappler's Quest with me. You agreed that we would both sign up for it.
But I lied.
And we showed up in Vegas, and you were there.
I was never going to compete.
You were there. You cheered me on.
I did. I was there for you.
Yep.
So isn't that more important that I was there for you?
Well, I'm still feel like you owe me a little something because it was kind of a...
No recollection.
For years, my friend John and I for years were like, we're going to go to Tennessee. We're going to use fake names. We're going to compete in Naga, which is like at that point, the lowest barrier of entry.
Still kind of is, in my opinion. But anyways.
And then he killed himself. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it in his honor. I'm not going to do it in his name. I'm not. Thank God that I don't now have to do it.
Yeah.
What kind of science? What kind of science do you do?
I make vaccines for animals.
And then gotta bite my tongue on that one. I'm gonna bite my tongue on that one. I'll let someone else make it.
Rory, I'm gonna let you intro your brother.
Vaccines. Dogs getting autism? Is that what you're worried about?
You give dogs autism?
I give dogs autism.
God,
yeah.
Fucked up.
That
gives dogs autism.
It is.
Rory, you get to introduce your brother since he refuses
I'll
to.
introduce myself.
Right.
I am Adam Singer. I am Rory's older brother. I am the co-owner of SBG Athens.
Which is in Georgia.
Which is in Georgia. Yes, Athens, Georgia. Anything past that will make me uncomfortable speaking about myself.
I'll speak on his behalf.
I'm an MMA coach. I'm a Jiu-Jitsu coach. I'm a black belt. I really like coaching.
Who was your
Forrest Griffin is my most famous student. He came to us when he first started training. Like he was a cop out of the academy and going to college, and so he came to us with no experience, and he went on to be a world champion. And then Brian Bowles was a world champion at 135. He came to us with a couple years of high school wrestling. And
5 years from high school wrestling or high school graduate for the most part, or whenever he joined, but only having wrestled, to day one in the gym to world champion in 5 years. And Brian Bowles at that time was fighting for a world championship in the WC, which was the smaller weight classes, and then the UFC took them over, but they weren't still part of the UFC. So he had fought a guy named Miguel Torres, who at the time was 36-1, having not lost for 15 fights over 5 years. And his coach was just taking him places, and like 145 and 55, he was fighting dudes at 185, and he was wrecking house. And he had obviously not lost in the WC. Brian had 3 fights, I believe, so he'd not even had a lot of pro fights when he went in. So his 7th pro fight was against Miguel Torres. He knocked him out in 4 minutes in the first round. And it was, at that time, and I still think to this day, it's
one of the biggest.
It's considered one of the biggest upsets in MMA history.
Yeah.
We knew that. I mean, I can tell you with 100% confidence that you could see that Miguel was not himself, that he wasn't the pre-fight stuff that you were used to. It wasn't really the same. And Brian was it was as confident and as relaxed as I'd ever seen him.
Miguel had a tremendous amount of mileage. All those fights at 85 and in Mexican bars and whatever he was doing put a tremendous amount of mileage on him. And just Brian nailed him at the exact right place.
Going backwards.
Brian was going up, ascendant, and I think Miguel was probably on the downswing.
Going backwards, he knocked him out.
It was a great fight. And then since we had other guys that fought in the UFC, Bellator, all the big organizations for a long time.
4 guys on TUF. Forrest, myself, Kel Yarbrough, who fought in the UFC. John Kofer, who fought in the UFC.
Yes. All of that is true.
And then helped a lot of guys.
I think Adam was the first SBG coach to put somebody in the UFC in our organization.
That's quite possible. Quite possible it was Forrest.
I think it was.
Sounds about right.
How'd you guys meet? The three. I mean, you could introduce yourself, Travis, but Everybody knows who you are.
Everyone knows
Second
and
most
I
frequent
hope
podcast
Dudley's
guest.
listening to this too, Dudley, because I'm gaining on you. And this is not the only podcast I'm going to do this weekend. It's true.
Oh, nice.
So-
Nice.
There's a slight competition
No,
between
the-
those two.
Interesting, or the cool thing was I met these guys it was Alabama. It was a different guy. Was it Trey? Was that the guy's name?
Yeah, it was Conley. That's where Conley was teaching.
Well, I met Conley, Adam, Rory, Forrest, all in the same trip. I was a white belt at the time. It was a long time ago. Did some Valley Tudo rounds with Rory because Matt didn't care who got partnered up with who. I tried to pick a fight with Forrest, which was probably one of the stupider things I've done, which is saying a lot.
And then you spent an hour trying to pick a fight with Rory while walking down the street. You were trying to get him to say anything about anything that you could find a reason to have a fight with him
To
about.
pick on me somehow.
You and I
try
are
to fight.
kind of polar opposites in some ways.
Yes, in many ways.
Yeah. I am a Gentile.
Yes, you are.
Let it be known. But no, it really wasn't my fault because if you remember, there was a bar called the Blue Monkey.
Yes.
And it was a
It's
martini.
a strong name for a bar.
It
Yes,
was a
and it was exactly that bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a martini bar. And
Yes.
And I may or may not have consumed all the martinis.
Martinis will sneak up on you. By the time they start tasting good, you're done.
That's one for me.
Yeah.
Never met a chocolatini I didn't like, man.
I know.
Oh,
An
so
espresso chocolatini?
good. With real ice cream. So good.
I'm a gin martini straight up extra dry.
I had met Matt online. I'd sent him a email message when I saw the ad for the first tapes. Have you ever seen the first tapes that SBG put out?
I have not.
You should check them out.
Are you familiar with SBG?
Are you a member
Martial
of
arts?
SBG?
Yes, I am.
CIA,
I'm a member.
DA,
No.
HIV,
No.
SBG,
Yes.
GAY.
Yes.
Okay.
Had to spell that last one out.
And so we saw the videotapes. I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. But here's the thing you'll notice when you watch the videotapes. There is a good chance that is some type of white supremacist training organization.
That's a compound. It's a
Now,
compound.
I rolled the dice as a Jew. I'm like, this could be a white supremacist. Because just imagine everyone dressed like Travis, but with Doc Martens on and you know.
It's in Portland.
It's in Portland, and they're
I'm going
flannels.
to have to find
and-
these tapes.
Yeah.
They're VHS.
They're
pretty good.
VHS.
But wasn't that the jam back in the day? Like, wasn't like people would have like magazine advertisements and tapes,
yeah.
basically?
He had one.
Yeah.
That's what he saw.
Matt had a whole
All over
a whole-
Black Belt magazine.
Yeah.
Had full page ads in Black Belt back in the day, man. But that's what we saw. That's what he saw.
So I sent him an email message, and he messaged me back, and he was going to Florida. So I told my wife that I was going to take her on vacation to Florida.
Nice.
And I did. And I'm like, oh, by the way, all day Saturday I have something to do. And I went, and it was Matt and Luis Gutierrez and Robert Folis.
That was my first coach.
I met, and I trained with them, and I really hit it off with everyone. And it was cool. And then that led to, you know, seeing him in Alabama and Rory and stuff. So we've all been together a long time. So I'm the second outside of Portland SBG coach. Luis is the first.
I actually fought on a card with John Kavanaugh before John Kavanaugh was part of Straight Blast Gym.
That was in Africa, right?
Matt was
South
cornering
Africa.
Forrest and myself in Johannesburg, South Africa, in Carnival City.
Is this when John was cornering himself?
Yes.
And that's when John was cornering himself.
Which is
Yep.
also a strong move, by the way.
What do you say to yourself in those? How much time do you have in between rounds?
A minute.
Was he just sitting there like, you suck? You need-"
I wish that I could recall anything from that part of, like, outside of my fight and
Yeah.
Forrest's fight and maybe the ring car girls. There are pictures. They were attractive. But he was there by himself. I was there with Forrest and Matt. Matt had actually come out to South Africa, was doing a seminar, and then was cornering us. And John was on that card all those years ago. And he met Matt at that event.
That's pretty cool.
And then he was all in. John and Matt hit it off immediately, but that's how far back I even go with Kavanaugh, even though I didn't really know him at the moment.
I feel like you have to befriend the person that corners themselves in a professional fight.
For sure.
It's
For sure.
I would love to have known what he was saying. You really need to get your.
I think someone cornered him.
Maybe they had a bucket.
Sure.
But
Gave him some water.
The thing is, it's one thing if you corner yourself like in Dublin, but he went to South Africa.
That's crazy.
To corner himself by him. I mean, that's
crazy. That event's name was Pride
And Honor.
which was spelled with a double like Nazi fucking cross thing. I still have the T-shirt. It's got a white guy on it with like,
God.
yeah.
But
Did you guys feel safe?
I didn't go. I didn't corner them in South Africa, Japan, Ireland.
Those are all the places I fought.
Brazil.
But the man who put the money up for that event was a Jewish businessman in South Africa. So maybe he just really didn't know what that meant.
Weird. It's weird. I had an important question.
Send it.
Why would anyone do a tandem base jump? Other than
Curiosity.
to die? Does it seem safe?
Nobody's died yet that I know of doing a tandem base jump. I mean, I know the guy who does them up in Twin Falls, and I've seen him do it. I mean, I guess it's as safe as doing a single base jump, which, depending on your comfort level and scale and how you define safety or safe-ish, you can put it on anywhere on that spectrum that you want to. Mostly, I think it's curiosity. People, I mean, the cool thing about the Twin Falls Bridge is that base jumping is legal there 365 days a year. So most people go there to learn. So you do this walk, you pack in this grass area, and you walk under the bridge, come around, and you walk out probably 200 yards, and there'll be people just sitting there, drinking coffee, trying to entice you to kill yourself by accident. Like, dude, double backflip, man. And you're like, fucking.
It's like NASCAR fans rooting for the crash.
Can you do a double backflip with a twist? I'm like, I can't even do a backflip, but all right, I guess I'll give this a try. Like, oh, you got a camera? Sweet. Let's hold my beer, and just, psh. But, so I think people have seen it there, and then his name is Sean Chuma. The guy I know, his name is Sean Chuma, and he just goes there and he does it. I mean, I don't know.
It's crazy.
Why'd you try skydiving?
What is a double base jump?
So much like Adam went tandem jumping, did you go regular or Euro?
Regular.
So like
Regular.
You were facing away or facing your tandem master? Because I offer the option to my students that are your size.
Before or after the jump?
I'll go. I'd take you Euro facing each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like tonight or just like in your room? I don't understand what you're propositioning now.
We're skydiving
confused.
facing each other.
You're
Why
looking at me and Rory. I don't know why you think I'm the gay one. Proposition him. He's confused.
Yeah.
No, I jumped. No
Yes.
connected to anybody. Me.
Oh, you did AFF.
Just me.
Which is perfect. Which is how that's the true sensation. So actually there's 3 options now that people will explore. One of them I highly recommend is the wind tunnel, which is.
I could do that.
And I actually really wanted to take you guys. Near the hotel I'm staying, there's an indoor skydiving place, but it's really old and the fans suck, and they make you wear a really baggy suit. So I would take you guys, but that's not the experience I would want you to have.
I picture someone falling into the fan.
Jesus Christ. First off, there's layers of mesh safety.
The person falling is Rory.
Yes, but also most of the time the fans are above, not below.
What?
Yeah, they're pulling the air up. It's a Venturi.
Get out of here.
Yes.
That's sciencey.
It is sciencey.
I think.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Well, when I fly on my back and I look up, I see spinning rotors. So, yes, I'm pretty sure.
All right, that's neat.
So there's the wind tunnel, which people love because it's about, and people ask me this all the time, I'd say 98%. The only difference is when you're skydiving, you have a parachute on. It changes the feeling a little bit, but you don't have to pack a parachute. You actually don't have to learn anything because the instructor is going to hold on to you. Don't have to ride in a rickety airplane, and you just jump in, and it's cool. And you can feel what it feels like. So I always recommend that. And then most people go with the tandem, so you're harnessed to somebody. And I've taken myself probably about 1,500 people for their first jump doing a tandem, which is awesome. And the worst experiences I've ever had are with the guys who are like, this doesn't scare me, bro. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. Because nothing scares you until the door comes open, and then they're just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And it's happened to me twice. I've had 2 jump refusals because there's a bar across. What type of plane did you jump out of?
Yeah, so I was holding on to a bar.
Yeah,
right?
Were you in a little plane or a Twin Otter?
I don't know. There were like 12 people in it.
Did it have engines on both sides? Multi-engine plane?
No.
You probably had a caravan.
A prop in the front.
Yep, caravan.
So there's a guy outside. There's a guy inside.
Yep.
Look at him. Look at this guy. And then I'm supposed to do something.
Yeah, check in, check out, ready, set, go.
And I'm supposed to say prop.
Yeah.
Well, I froze because
Not uncommon.
I couldn't remember which hand to let go of. And I was sure that if I let go of the wrong hand, I was going to go into the propeller. Like
that was in front of you, that was pushing air back at 120 miles an hour?
I wasn't doing physics at that point.
Somehow you were going to accelerate through the propeller?
Why did I need to even know where the fucking propeller was unless it was to not go into it? So I couldn't figure out.
Do you understand now why they asked you that or told you that?
I mean, I've taken physics.
No. Do you understand?
No.
So,
no idea.
So if you're facing the aircraft, the propeller was to your left, right?
No, propeller was to my right.
No, it was not.
Yeah, it was.
Was the door of the aircraft on the right-hand side of the aircraft or the left? It was on the left.
No, it was on the right.
The propeller was on the right.
No, the propeller was in the front.
Of the airplane?
Yes.
As you were holding onto the bar, you were facing into the aircraft?
Yes.
Was the propeller on your left or right?
My right.
So the door of the aircraft, as if the aircraft knows is at 12 o'clock. You're telling me the door was on the right-hand side?
Look, can everyone see what I'm doing?
No.
It was to the door was in front of me.
Yes, the door definitely was in front of you.
Well, I don't know what you're trying.
The nose of the airplane, like when you're sitting in the airplane.
It felt like it was there.
Okay.
It's to my right.
So I'm going to assume that you were jumping out of a Caravan that has somehow been modified and now the door is on the right. The reason they tell you the prop is that if you let go of that and orient your chest towards the prop, the relative wind will hit you directly in the chest and you will start falling vertically. As opposed to pushing off really far and you'll over-rotate, or just letting go and you'll under-rotate. So if you can present your chest symmetrically, the wind will hit you, and it's called the forward throw, where you go from horizontal to vertical. And the slower the aircraft is going, the faster that occurs. Like when we jump out of military planes when they're hauling ass, you'll go forward for hundreds of yards. You can watch them on the ground. They're actually getting hucked. It doesn't feel like it because you have nothing to reference off of, but you get hucked forward and then the vertical fall begins. So it was an orientation to your chest.
So they tackled me out. We did at least one full flippy.
Not uncommon.
Before they got me stable.
Yeah. It happens. So that bar, as a tandem master, is horrendous, especially with male passengers, because it's right there, and they'll go, I don't want to go. And meanwhile, this is the dude, this is always the guy who at the drop zone is usually there with a significant other or girl he's trying to impress. He's just like, Whatever, bro. I'm just here because she wants to do it. And the woman is usually like, I'm really scared. And when somebody will tell you, hey, I'm really nervous and trepidatious about this, like, you're going to be the perfect passenger because you're going to listen to me and do exactly what you say. And my tandem brief is very simple. It goes like this: smile and relax. I'm here to do the rest of it. And that's what they do. Like, maybe look around a little bit and just relax. You shouldn't feel like plywood falling through the air. But the guys, twice I've had them, because the tandems go out last. So experienced jumpers will go. And there's this phase of skydiving for new people. It's all the tough guys really tough. And then you get the harness on them, and they're a little bit quieter because that means they're about 30 minutes from jumping. And then as you go to the airplane and you get in and it takes off, they're a little bit quieter. And then the door opens and people start exiting an airplane in flight. And shit gets real for them at that point. And they clam up, and you're trying to, then to this point, you're harnessed up, and you're getting them to the door, and they grab on it, and I don't want to jump. Twice I've had that happen. And I tell them the same thing every time. I'm like, okay, we'll get back in the airplane, not a problem, but you still have to let go of this bar because the seat's behind us. And they do, and I immediately bear hug them, and we go.
Nice.
Yeah. And we do a couple flips, which I like to do anyway because it's fun. Most people don't remember them. I'll tell them, like, hey, we're going to do a backflip on this exit. And they're like, awesome. And the guys get to the ground. 8 out of 10 of them go, I thought we were going to do a backflip. And I say, were your eyes open when we left the plane? They're like, no, not at all. Because we did the backflip, and you'll see it in the video, but you weren't looking. But it's only the guys in that damn bar. Where did you do your jump?
In Georgia. Monroe Skydive. Skydive Monroe.
I'm going to find out what type of plane you were in, because I don't think the door was on the right-hand side.
He's going to call. He's going to call.
It's not impossible.
Just so he wants to know that he's right.
So let's
just curious.
Okay, well, let's make sure.
I'm going to assume you were in a Caravan.
Let's make sure that we're
turbo.
talking about the same thing. This is the propeller of the airplane.
Correct.
For our viewers.
The other end of that water bottle would be the tail end of the airplane.
I got out there, which is to my right.
But then the prop is on your left.
But there was 12 people?
Is here.
And that's on your left.
Prop is on your left.
Seems like about 12 people.
I feel like there might have been like 4.
No. There was a 5 group went out together before me.
And the door was in the front of the aircraft?
I had 2, Yeah, and we were all slid on a bench. We were all on the same bench.
And you were
back.
sliding towards the propeller to exit the aircraft.
Yeah, I was moving forward on the bench.
No, I know you're moving forward on the bench.
To the right.
All right.
Okay.
I'm just going to call him.
I'm just going to get a picture. I will pull up a picture of it.
I'm just curious. I don't know. I mean, most skydiving operations are a Cessna Caravan, which the door for a jump operation is the back left. Twin Otter,
it feels
it's back
like
left.
now it's the back left. So when you put it in those words.
I've been around a few jump planes. Now I'm intimately curious about what kind of plane this was.
You hadn't said back left before. It was the choice between left and right.
Everything that I had said before was leading towards back left.
No, if it was left or right, it was definitely right. But if it was possibly the back left, then you might be onto something. But I still don't believe it. I'm going to look it up.
All right.
I don't have a phone anymore, but I'm going to look it up.
So tandem, two people together. And then what Adam did, which is AFF. That's actually how I learned too. Is you sit through 6 to 8 hours of class where you realize that skydiving is actually one of the simplest activities possible. Truly, if you smile and relax, gravity has continued to work every day that we wake up until it doesn't work.
I don't believe in gravity.
You don't have to when you jump out of a plane.
I guess not.
Yeah. It's,
look into it.
And then you learn some malfunctions on your gear, which there's a couple options. Your parachute comes off your back and you do some things, or it doesn't and you do some things.
But they had completely convinced me that one of those things was going to happen.
Well, they need you to pay attention. Statistically, one in about every 888 jumps will terminate in a malfunction of a parachute.
How many of those malfunctions are recoverable, so therefore that 888 people don't die? Or do all 888 people die?
He said 1 out of 888.
So one out of 800. Does that person die?
No. There hasn't been, to my knowledge, a dual parachute. So you have to have two because of FAA regulations. Your reserve is packed by an FAA rigger, and it's now on a 6-month cycle. So you either use it or it gets repacked. And then your main parachute is generally repacked by the jumper. I don't know of in modern history, and I'll call that this century and forward, where the gear has just made astronomical leaps forward. I don't know of a single dual malfunction that took somebody's life. There might have been, but if you look at what caused the fatality, I guarantee you that it would be human error. Like one of the bigger causes of death in the skydiving world is somebody jumping a very small canopy, and they'll initiate a high-speed turn, and they will impact the ground before their canopy can come out of that turn, just based on the aerodynamics. And that, in my opinion, is not a malfunction of the gear. That's a malfunction of the person. They're making a poor choice. And there are things you can do where your gear is trying to function. Like there's a sequence, right? You need to cut away your main parachute before you deploy your reserve because you want one to be free and clear and your reserve comes off. If you reverse that and fire your reserve into your malfunctioning main, yeah, that's a dual parachute malfunction, but that's not the gear's fault, in my opinion. That's the person, that's human error.
Operator.
Would you do it, bro? If I bought that for your birthday, would you do it?
Is he jumping with me?
No.
Is Andy jumping with me?
But he'll send you a text message.
He's offered to jump with me. And I still said no.
Would you do an AFFLL?
I have no idea at this present moment.
I'm going to buy it. I'll buy if I bought it for you right now.
But I still want to go back to tandem base jumping because that's where this whole thing started. And that's still the one thing I don't know. So you're jumping off, you're base jumping in the same way that you would tandem parachute.
Mm-hmm. You have, 2 seconds to pull or as soon as you get on?
It'll depend on your height. So the bridge in Twin Falls is 486 feet if you're standing on the top railing. So you have about 4.5 seconds until impact. So on the tandem jumps there, usually, so the tandem parachute system, somebody is holding on to the deployment portion of that. So it's basically getting ripped off your back. They're not really getting any free fall other than the time it takes for the parachute to come out of it. It's very simple. I was actually packing one at SBG in Kalispell. I mean, you lay it out and you put it in a bag.
It's pretty awesome,
goes
actually.
in another bag, and it has a little parachute. And you throw out a little parachute, which the drag pulls out a bigger parachute, and it opens. I mean, the concepts behind it are super simple. So if you do a tandem base jump off the bridge, you're probably only getting 30 feet of actual free fall. And during that time period, everything's coming off your back, and then it inflates. It's more just that stepping into the unknown, I think, is what people enjoy about it.
I would not do that one.
So then that's where it's as confident as you may be that that nothing wrong will happen. There's still, a chance? Like, so I'm saying, where's the thrill? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm curious about that. You just made it sound as though
that's a good question.
You just made it sound as though this was. I'm like getting in a plane.
It's
Nothing bad's gonna happen.
statistically insignificant number of people will jump out of a plane and die.
But the sheer fact that you know that you could still be one of those statistics, is that where the thrill comes in that 30 seconds where you're hoping
Why do you buy lottery tickets? You're a scientist.
Dollar and a dream.
You're a scientist who knows statistics. Yet every time we see a sign, he's like, "Oh,
it's 110 million.
It's up to 100 million. I'm going to buy a ticket."
$2.
Look, he's like a retard when it comes to lottery tickets. We can't say retard.
No,
I'm sure you can.
Oh, you gotta.
It's the internet.
No,
You fucked it up, man.
I fucked up what?
Rolling through, and you said the R word.
I'm racist.
How dare you?
No, it wasn't. It was
110 million, $2 and a
It's all
dream.
the same thing.
So is it the 30 feet of free fall where it's still a possibility? Is that where the thrill is, or what's the thrill?
You'd have to ask the person who wants to do the tandem jump.
You do them.
I don't. I do tandem jumps in the skydiving.
Oh, okay. So you don't want to do a tandem base jump.
I know how to base jump on my own.
But you do base jump.
I do, but I invested the time and energy and effort to learn that, whereas somebody who doesn't want to make that investment could go onto a website and say, hey, tomorrow I want to see what it's like to jump off of a bridge. And I don't know, maybe they're overcoming a fear. I mean, I took the time to do it, and I'll climb up on that railing, and I haven't been down there in a couple of years, but when you're standing on that railing, I don't know if I would use the word thrill is what's going through your mind. I mean, it's terrifying. You're thrilled at the bottom when it's over, but there's definitely an essence of fear. I mean, you check the wind by spitting and watching where it lands. That's how close you are to where you could impact.
I think
so. Then you're not you wouldn't say that your base jumping and such. Then to you is not necessarily a thrill seek. It's more like this is just an awesome sensation of flying through the air, and since you know it's safe.
Are you an adrenaline junkie?
I'm an adrenaline enthusiast.
All right.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a junkie. I'm hyper aware of the risk. I mean, I've drastically backed off my base jumping.
That's exactly what a junkie would say, though. They'd use the word enthusiast. I'm a heroin enthusiast. I'm not a...
Like the dude who jumped
I
out of a...
I feel like a heroin person would say they're a heroin enthusiast, but...
If
they would probably be pretty enthusiastic about heroin. Then. Yeah. The dude who jumped out of the plane without the parachute.
Yeah, Luke Akins.
Okay, so... He landed in a net, right?
Yeah.
Like
he never. See this? He did it for stride gum.
He never put the parachute. Like he didn't get it in the midair. Like he just hit a net. If I remember correctly.
He had to wear one for. From my understanding, I wasn't there, but he had to wear one for takeoff for FAA standards. But then he took his parachute off and jumped from 25,000 into a net.
To net. So
why?
I believe that's thrill seeking, right? Would you say that that's certainly more thrill seeking than knowing that you were
but here's
pretty
the thing,
safe?
Though, too. But I know Luke, and I don't know him incredibly well, but I would estimate he probably has over 20,000 jumps. He's also grown up, and his family owns a drop zone up in Kapowson, up near Seattle. He's a pilot, and the way that he looked at that, from my understanding, is when he was falling down to the net, he did a bunch of practice jumps, and they put up aviation lights, that kind of change colors, so that when everything is lined up, you're right over the top of the net. By the time that he did that jump, I think he probably felt like he was so prepared. It certainly wasn't like he didn't go into it with like some laissez-faire attitude. I guarantee you that much. But I think he probably felt completely prepared by the time that he did it. So I don't think he was. I don't even think he. And again, I'm not trying to speak for Luke, but I don't think he went after that like I need to find the next thrill. He probably approached that is what's something that I can do that's moving the needle or the threshold a little bit farther down the road.
So then I got a question, because I find it fascinating. You've now told me, for the most part, that these people are not the thrill seekers, that sometimes
the highest level guys are
them.
extremely calculated.
So then what would then classify someone as a thrill seeker who still wants so then what makes someone a thrill seeker? Because I always thought that those were, adrenaline sort of, like that's what you're looking for, but it doesn't sound like it's really that, because it's so practice and...
I mean, it's their profession. So he's part of the Red Bull Air Force. Sure. He's a professional skydiver, base jumper pilot. Like, he's just executing his profession. And I'm sure he still gets incitement and joy out of it, but that's probably secondary or tertiary. It's just his job. I would say the thrill seeker restructures that, and all they're after is that rush. And I've seen and been around a lot of those people, and you can almost feel how it is. They're in it for the wrong reason, and you can almost hear the clock ticking down until they have some catastrophic injury. Most of the time, they'll have like 9 GoPros on them, and they're always in my experience, at least being around them, they're always at the upper limit of what they're able to successfully control, and always flirting with that razor blade of luck and safety.
What would you call that?
Are you out of your fucking mind? You're telling me that's on the right-hand side of the aircraft? That is the back left of an airplane. Also, there's 2 engines on that plane.
Dude.
He was totally present and
when
not.
you get off, though,
You told me the propeller was to your right.
This prop.
How was the propeller
I was
to your right?
Pretty sure I was going to go into.
Which is
If I
physically,
left-
and when I say that physically, I mean physics, impossible.
That on his right, though?
But
That's your right hand?
this feels like my right.
So you said you were facing into the aircraft, though.
Yes. When I slid down the bench, this door is on my right.
No.
Because I am sitting up this direction, and I'm moving towards the back right
Of your own body.
of the
Let's
air.
go
the
back.
back.
Let's go back to your story. You're outside of the airplane, holding
Yes.
on to the bar.
All right, I might have lied.
Is the propeller to your left or right?
You might have won this round, but I
Also,
don't think it's
you
over.
told me you were scooting towards the propeller. You are so fucked up.
No, I didn't.
It's
I said
all-
I was
it's all-
scooting towards the back.
It's all on record. That's the
I'd
funny.
like to look at the tape here. Is there do we have a stenographer or something I can look at before
I was
you
going to say, I've been
doctor
around a lot of jump planes, and what he was describing was extremely atypical,
That's what happens when you're under extreme duress.
which is
Yes.
actually, that's common too, yeah.
this? No idea what I was on.
Those people, how long did it seem like your first jump last? How long did you feel like you were in free fall?
Not long. I was quite terrified.
In seconds, how long would you say?
30 seconds?
Yeah, that's probably average. And you probably were in free fall for 45 to 60. It's extremely accelerated for people's first experience. It's just, it would probably be like somebody who's never done jiu-jitsu trying to do a 5-minute round with a season. You'd be like, it's just complete and total physical and mental overload at the same time.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't do it again.
Why? Well, you've already said many times that you're a pussy. So
Yeah, it's just I didn't buy it for myself. My wife bought it, and I looked at it and I'm like, fuck you, I'm not going to do this. No way. She's like, well, you never would have bought it for yourself. I'm like, yeah, because I care about myself. And you obviously don't. So I let it expire. But since I'm a Jew, I felt bad that I let it expire. So I called them to see if they would grant me like a leniency. They're like, that's 6 months expired. I'm like, but money is still good. Even 6 months after your expiry. So they're like, if you come this Saturday, they'll honor it. So I'm like, I'll be there Saturday. Like, how the fuck did that just happen?
I'm glad you did it.
I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it.
Statistically, the odds are totally in your. The most dangerous thing that will happen on a day of skydiving, if you follow some very basic principles, will be your drive to and from the drop zone. You're much more likely to get into a car accident and get hurt or killed.
I'm still more scared in a cave moving through like very tight spaces than I was skydiving.
What are you not scared of, Adam?
I'm not. Those are pretty much the only
I think
things.
scared's subjective, considering
Scared's a different word.
he
What's
does
scared?
all those
I've done all
things.
those
I think
Good.
you have anxiety. Is
right.
what you have.
I have
You
anxiety.
yeah.
But I have a legitimate fear of being stuck in a dark cave. I mean, I think that's a pretty natural fear for primates that went into caves. But I take my daughter, and she does everything. She'll climb into every hole and rock, and then she'll be like, come on, Dad. I'm like, fuck you, Sydney. You're not going to guilt me into this. And then I have to go.
Because you can't go backwards.
It's true.
Because they're going that way. So you got to follow them.
We held our father's funeral in a cave.
You did?
Hashtag Bob is dead.
Rory had never been caving.
Was his name Robert?
Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah,
So
Bob.
hashtag Bob is dead.
We got a phone call that our father was dead, like months before, and we're like, all right, we got to do something. Like there's something. So we went to. I'm like, let's go in a cave, because he had never been in a cave before. That scares you, right? That gives you anxiety, at least before we did it. You're claustrophobic, so
Once I got there and
I used to
recognized it
torture
was
him.
just
When
like everything else,
when I
just pay
realized he was-
attention and follow
I realized
someone's
he was
lead.
claustrophobic as a kid. I was like, I wrapped him up in blankets and laid on top of him every chance I could just to get him to freak the fuck out. Such a dick. Put him in like a toy chest to push him down the stairs, like anything claustrophobic. So I was like, that's a good idea. Let's go do this. I was hoping he'd freak out or something.
I didn't.
Pussy out of a
I had
crack or
one
something.
moment of apprehension where my body didn't quite move the way I needed it to or felt like it should to get through. And then once I was like, I still got a lot of space here. I can figure this out.
If he had crawled into something small and a bunch of spiders had come out of a crack in the wall and crawled on him, he would have gone mentally insane. He never would have recovered from that ever.
That
You mean
been,
more.
That would have been your full psychological snap right there.
Right there.
PTSD.
So what did you guys
Joker
do?
level right there.
What did you do in the cave? I'm kind of curious.
You've never been
too.
spelunking?
No, I've been
cool.
through like the Oregon caves, and I'm also claustrophobic.
We
and
spelunked. Climbed on rocks and under rocks and through rocks and
How
over
does the
rocks and
funeral
into
tie in?
water.
where's the funeral part? That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, I got you. Adam felt he needed to get in touch with his feelings.
Bullshit. I felt
And,
like we needed to go talk. So we drove up to Chattanooga.
as in just you two?
He and I. We drove up to Chattanooga and we yelled at each other and we fought a little bit and we had some beers and we went in a cave, which is primal, and we ate some food. And we
In the
came back
cave.
and we're like, all right,
In the
we're
cave.
good. No, you don't eat. You can't eat in the
That was
cave.
just
Because
part
you
of
can't
it.
see.
Just part of it. No, we had lights.
Because you have lights.
We're not bats, dude.
How were you estranged from your
Bats
father?
cannot see. Yes.
So how long had it been since you'd seen him?
At that point, 10 years. Prior to that, it had been 10 years. So really more or less in total 20 years with about a year of
When I had my daughter,
Connection.
I was like, it's not fair to her to not have as many grandparents as possible. Like I had 2 grandparents that I loved and 2 that I didn't know at all. And I always felt like it was unfair to my daughter to not have as many grandparents as possible. So when my wife gave birth, he went on TUF3. So
Right.
my daughter was born on Thursday, and you left for TUF Sunday?
I think I was home. No, I think I was still home for about 2 weeks, but she was born.
No.
What is her birthday?
No. She's 12th. Her birthday is January 12th. You left for TUF.
11 days later. Maybe. 10 or 11 days later.
I
Look it
believe
up,
he
dude.
left.
Look it up.
We'll look it up.
Google
I
it.
believe he left like 2 days
Google it.
later.
Regardless.
You also thought the propeller was on the right.
Yeah, I was just going to say you.
I still think it's on the right.
I get you, dude. I get
Right?
you. I know what you're saying.
All right.
I saw the picture.
I'm not willing to concede that.
We'll come back to that later. Table
So
that.
he was gone, and I had all these feelings and stuff. He had a kid. You know, we all have children here, and I got a private eye to locate him.
Okay.
And I think I sent him a letter. I sent him a letter. It's the only way I had to get in contact. I sent him a letter and said, you have a granddaughter. If you'd like to be a part of her life, I'm willing to give you that shot. He came up and met her, and it was just very weird.
Not only did he come up to meet her, I get done filming about 6 weeks of TUF
true.
season 3, get off the show. So we stopped filming. So you got your phone back. So I call my girlfriend. She's my girlfriend for about 8 months up until the time I left. Now my wife of, I guess, 11 years, right? 11 years, yeah. And
It's good to know that number.
so I called
Yeah,
her first just to say hi, and then I called him and come to find out that
I dropped this on him. I'm
that he's like, hey, by the way, when you come home, your father's coming. We're going to go have dinner or lunch if you'd like to go have lunch with us.
The difference was I had cut Bob out of my life, and because of that, Bob had cut Rory out of his life. So Rory was like,
At what age did you do that?
No, we still had some connection. It wasn't until I moved to Georgia and then
but
moved in with you.
I wasn't
Yes.
talking to him.
No, I'm
when
saying
I was
so.
21.
So in your adult life, though,
Yeah.
that happened?
I hadn't talked to him from the time I was 21 until the time I had my daughter at 33.
And I was about 20 because I moved. Then I was
He
20, so I
wouldn't-
moved to Georgia. So
he wouldn't call our house in Georgia to speak to Rory because I might answer the phone. So he told a college kid, you can call me collect whenever you want. Rory was like, fuck you. If you want to talk to me, call me. And he
So
never
10
spoke to
years.
me.
So that was 10 years of me living in Georgia.
So I let him come meet my daughter, and it was weird. I didn't like it. But I'm like, all right, it takes time. What'd you think of that? When you saw him the first time after all that
That
time?
was certainly weird. It was 10 years.
It was weird. He brought this chick that he started dating after he broke up with my mom, who we couldn't stand. It was like a Insta family, so we couldn't stand. So I'm like, why would you bring her? The first time you see us, you bring her. And then he came back for Thanksgiving. My daughter's born in January. He came back that next Thanksgiving, and it was just, I was like, listen, we can't do this. Like, I just don't like you. I don't want you. Like, you don't deserve to be in Sydney's life. And so that was it. Never talked to him again. And then 2 years ago, we get a phone call that he died in November.
Hashtag Bob is dead.
Yeah.
We went on a weekend. We hashtagged it Bob is dead.
Yeah.
Trademark. And we had a good weekend. And I'm still trying to deal with it.
I don't think it's that uncommon, to be honest. I think if you dig into people's family enough, you're always going to find something that's fucked. for lack of a better term.
Sure.
We've had some people are and some people aren't. I watched it happen with one of my parents, get like the breakup of the family. It started over a business 2 generations before me, and then like pure like disownment, but an attempt to maintain communication with the kids. Registered letters showing up at the house for us. Sheriffs called on us on Christmas Day. Like all I really remember is like, oh, this is an awesome light show. I'm like, oh, wait. Hello, officer. Does this mean I can take my presents with me? Like, that's the age that I was, but it happens. And I watched...
But here's... I agree. But my daughter's not going to have that story.
Well, and you know what, though? So this happened on my dad's side of the house. I think that was my dad's theory as well. It drastically shifted the way he wanted things to go for every subsequent generation. And I feel the same way, because I remember a little bit, and I guess more than anything, I remember the tail end of it just being... It just was odd, and it felt weird, and I never want my kids to feel that way. But I think in every family, if you look hard enough and deep enough, you're going to find something like that.
Maybe. And I'm sure there's quite a few of those stories out there.
Yeah.
I basically sat in my kitchen one day having a conversation with him after about a year or so had passed, and was just, I think the question was asked of me is, do you even care? Because nonsense, family history nonsense, but I didn't call for a birthday or didn't get a call for my birthday. I didn't call him for his birthday, so now whatever, how old he was, he's calling me and basically putting this on me. Like, you didn't call me for, like, I'm the fucking kid here. Like, come on, man. Get your shit together. You're shitty at this. So I even told him, I'm like, gave you a second chance. Took offense to that. I said, yeah, I gave you a second chance. I allowed you to try and be a father again.
I'm glad he missed out on it.
And then he said, do you even care? And I spent about a second, which probably seemed longer, and was like, no, I don't. And I'm pretty sure it came out in such a way, like, no, you're right, I don't.
We were lucky, though. Our mother's killer.
And I just said goodbye, and I was good. So when I got when I found out he died, it honestly didn't affect me. I think I might have cried once telling my son,
he's lying,
thinking about the fact that my son, I could do that to my son.
Yeah.
So when I tried to explain to him that I'd found out my dad had died, and he knew that we didn't have a relationship and why, and I cried because I thought about what that would be like to do to him, and then I was over it.
Aren't we supposed to be funny, by the way?
We were.
Why is this the fucking... He asked that first question right to start this thing, and
that's what he does.
Kept this whole thing down.
What he does.
You in the Navy?
Yeah.
Actually, you brought that up.
I did not. It was an accident. It was just like a throwaway line.
That was news to me.
Yeah.
I've known these guys for 20 years, and I had no idea he was in the Navy, and I had no idea that backstory.
We could have made fun of Rory for the last hour and a half, and you blew it.
I have had a different idea of what that story is up until this point. So I'm going to tell you what my idea was of that story. I was always under the impression, he'll correct me now if that's the case, that I was wrong. I was always under the impression that my brother made it through Hell Week and then got injured, and they let him go back again. He got back to it again.
Let's close the loop on this. What happened? How far did you get?
And then didn't do it the second time.
It was just a shin splint injury.
So flare-up of vaginitis.
Yeah. I couldn't... So I'm a no excuses person. I failed at Buds because I was not there for the right reasons. I am a severe asthmatic.
Yep.
I've ended up in the hospital many, many times.
How did you get in the Navy as a severe asthmatic?
That's a very good question.
I know the answer. You lied.
I didn't know.
Okay.
He didn't know that.
I didn't know.
I was going to say the only other answer is you lied.
He didn't know.
I didn't know. When I wrestled in high school or played football in high school, when I played football in Pop Warner when I was 8 years old, I remember I was crying. I did not want to go to practice. I loved football. I loved practice, but we had to run around in the field. And running around the field was the most difficult thing. I couldn't breathe, and it was freshly cut grass. So I had asthma because of allergies.
Oh, okay.
But I believe when I got into boot camp, I had that crud for the whole 8 weeks, and then it got progressively worse. So the first time I failed I had a bad asthma day. I failed the test. A very good swimmer, a very strong.
The actual screening test, running, pull up, push up, sit up, all that.
Everything. Swimming, I was very good, but running. I'm like, and I wrote letters. I remember I've seen letters recently. Like, I'm not going to make this test. Like, I'm going to fail here. And I took the test the second time, and it was just the right day, and the breeze was right, and I aced it. And there were just days like that.
Was it a grass allergy?
I don't know what it is. I've ended up in the hospital with cats. It just depends on what's blooming.
So how did your asthma get you at buds?
No, it didn't. It was just very difficult for me to run sometimes.
Yeah.
So I had a very difficult time with the running evolutions. And so the week before Hell Week was the fourth run, and I failed
The fourth time run?
And I failed it.
Okay.
And they liked me, and they pushed me back. And at that point, my shins were gone. I had been there at 8 weeks prep, and then all the running, and I'm a bad runner to begin with, my shins were gone. So during the next class, they gave me some time to heal, and the big old Motrin pills.
8 hundos. Good for curing pain and eating your liver.
Yeah. I started over. I started back from day one. I shaved my head. I started 187, and I just didn't have the heart for it. Like, I can't do this again.
How far did you make it in?
The second time, 3 weeks maybe.
What evolution did you quit on?
No, I quit on a Monday morning after we did inspection.
Yep.
And then we were going to do a timed run.
The old Monday morning run. Why didn't you quit on Friday so you could have an awesome weekend?
I don't know.
You'd see people quit on Monday morning. I'm like, dude, you knew you were going to do this.
Maybe I did quit on a Friday.
If you
Maybe
quit
the
on
time
Friday...
Run, wait a sec. Maybe the time runs were Friday morning. The runs were Monday, Wednesday. No. Okay. Then we got
and
done
the
with
fucking
inspection.
propeller was on your left shoulder, too, just so you know.
I'm right about that.
It's on your right.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to. I wasn't cut out for it.
So the
Like, I'm so impressed, and I'm more impressed with you because I couldn't do that.
You shouldn't be, to be honest.
Not in most of your life, but just in this one area. The rest of your life, as it reveals itself, I'll make those decisions.
It's a shit
this
show.
Area.
Flaming dumpster
well,
fire.
then I won't take advice from you on certain areas. Right? We'll ignore those areas. But
the U.S. government's loss was science's gained.
For sure.
And now your animals have autism. So there's that.
look, this is the first time I probably told this story to anyone. Yeah. Rory, probably the first time we spoke, I said Hell Week, and we have never spoken about this in our lives. My wife probably doesn't know this full story.
It was interesting to see from both sides as a student going through the people disappearing and then being there as an instructor when they did, and being, because I would sit the students down and talk to them, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I was trying to weaponize their reason for quitting.
Well, you wanted to make them quit. You got a job.
I've heard you talk about that.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't like some crazy sociology experiment. I just was trying to figure out why. Like, why would you not quit on Friday if you were going to quit on the room inspection Monday? Like, you could have just had the best weekend ever, consequence free. But I look back at buds. You have to have the physical ability to do it. For me, I think the key to success was I didn't have a plan B, which was so stupid in hindsight.
Right.
You burned your bridges, dude.
I did, but I didn't realize how many people got hurt. I didn't know that until I went back as an instructor to see the people from shin splints. I watched like 5 kids fall off the O course and just like the sand shaking because they hit so hard because they were on the slab. I'm like, oh God. Yeah. Of course, at the time, I was like, just walk it off. And then I turned around, I'm like, get the ambulance over here.
I had a plan A, I had a plan B, which should have always been my plan A, which was go to college and be a professor.
And what'll eat at people, what I saw as an instructor, is if I could get them to think about a plan B, or if they had a plan B and I have people who will reach out to me over social media, which is a beautiful and an ugly thing at the same time. Not the people reaching out, just the medium itself.
Sure.
But they'll say, hey, I'm kind of thinking about, and if you start a sentence like that, my answer is I would highly recommend, I don't ever want to turn somebody away, but I would highly recommend you not go down this path. Or, well, I have 2 options. One of them is I could go change the world through medicine, and the other one is I could go be an idiot and be in the SEAL team. Like, go do something more important than,
I really liked every day.
I
liked all of it. I liked every part of it. I liked the logs. I liked the boats. I liked being sandy.
There's a lot of fun that goes on there, too. Like, people focus on the negative.
I love the cold water. I like the people. Obstacle course was awesome. I could draw the obstacle course from memory right now. That's how much I enjoyed it. I could probably draw the whole base. I really, really liked it. There were just aspects of it that didn't fit
And that's what the curriculum is designed for.
It did.
Is to find and to dive down.
How much do they spend on someone to find that out?
Because I'm sure
It's about $1 million per person by the time
to find all those things out.
I'm
so
sure
that
there are guys
most
who
of those people leave.
There are guys who could have pushed themselves. Rory will tell you this with fighting. There are guys that push through whatever I couldn't push through, and they're SEALs. And I didn't have that gear. I really just enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed going to the pool, and I was crossing guard, and it was fucking fun.
Do you think you would have liked the job based on what you know about it?
No.
Yeah, you definitely were there for the wrong reasons.
I don't think it's my thing.
Which is why it's not, in my opinion, it's not a failure
at all.
It's actually a success. I mean, because you didn't waste more time trying to go back through, and you didn't end up. It's like being in a bad marriage. You know, what are you doing? Just don't ask that question, and then it's 10 years later, and your life got fucked.
Yep.
Don't do that.
I couldn't trade my wife and daughter in right now for anything, which is why even when there are like regrets, like those cancers that eat us all inside, those regrets, they are enough to pull me out of that. The times that like regrets and the things bog me down too much, I'm like, well, but if I change anything, I lose the two of them.
It's fun to go back on things like that too and think about like where you are now and like the things that happened that led to that, and so many of them seem so negative at the time, and then you look back and you're like, but had that not happened, and I look at the gym in Montana, like that totally was born out of just complete failure.
What was the biggest like failure that you thought you wanted to change but wouldn't have gotten you where you are?
For me, I think my biggest failure was running our first business into the ground. Keith and I mean, that was a tough time in our life.
Construction business?
Yeah, in Washington. Not losing my job in Montana. That was outside of my control. I was working for somebody else. The financial crisis happened. I got laid off. Like, shit happens. But in Washington and Oregon, Keith and I could point fingers at ourselves and say, you did this. Bad decision making, not doing what needed to get done led to that. So...
It sounds like what happened needed to happen. So the test I administered was a diving test. And if you get through that last entry gate, or test gate, I should say, because it's certainly not an entry gate.
Pool comp?
Pool comp. There's a high 90th percentile chance that you will continue on and get your trident, which is a multi-year process. You get 4 attempts at it, 2 on a Thursday, 2 on a Friday. And in BUD/S, you'll get a performance roll, like failed time runs, and then a medical roll, shin splints. You can get one. You can actually get rolled twice, but you're not going to get 2 performance. You're not going to get 2 medical. And maybe 20% of the guys pass on their first attempt. Maybe another 20% pass on their second. So now you're at 60% of the guys who have to think on it overnight. But we'd go there late in the night, answer all the questions. I would go and brief it on Friday. I would remediate. Like, they get all the chances they want. They test again Friday. See a guy fail his third time. I passed on the third try. So I know about the sleepless nights between Thursday and Friday there, or sleepless night, singular. And then you get this last test, and you look at these kids, right? And they're kids, and they'll tell you is that this is all they've ever wanted to do is be a SEAL. And then you watch them fail. And I always tried to administer as many of the last tests as possible, just to be fair. And I never deviated on it. Like, you could be the best guy in the world, but if you fail, you fail. And I have had guys come up crying, begging, like, please, this is all I ever want to do. I'm like, well, what you're going to do is go over to that counter, or the picnic table where the instructors are sitting there with a 3-ring binder, notating pass or fail. You're going to check in as a failure, and good luck with the rest of your life. And it crushes them. And I've had, that I can think of, at least 4 guys come up to me in the years. I haven't been a BUD/S instructor now for over a decade. Like, I ran into a guy at a VA hospital. He's like, do you remember me, Instructor Stumpf? And I saw hundreds of students. I'm like, I don't. He's like, you failed me in pool comp. And I thought that you were the biggest fucking asshole that I had ever met. And then he sticks his hand out and he goes, thank you. He's like, honestly, I'm going to medical school now. I absolutely would have been the worst SEAL ever. And I'm glad that you did that, because I was not prepared for that. I'm like, shit happens for a reason.
Yep.
Listen, your one failure right there led you to have, what are you up to now? 6 now? Tough guy? Six businesses?
6 businesses.
All right, so...
Which isn't necessarily fun.
A 6, if you consider
4 kids,
each,
6 business.
but if you could,
2 wives. Whoops. I mean,
If you consider
Keith.
6 wins to 1 loss, I mean, that's still a pretty decent record in just about any.
Your brother asked for the biggest failure. He didn't ask for all the failures.
I'm just saying.
No, we can all list a bunch of failures, I'm sure.
I think the losses drive the failures, though, from the
sure.
aggregate.
For sure.
I'm more of a go with the flow sort of person in my life. I don't make too many decisions that can result in failure. I just sort of like.
So what you're saying is you're really out there at your threshold, just pushing the limits.
Oh God, no. But I don't want to be. I don't purport to. I don't claim to be. Like I'm not. None of those sayings apply to me. I like to just be a glider until I crush. It'll be good. I like it.
I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but well,
I'm glad that Rory runs our business. And the more that I have stepped away from our business, the better it has run. Because I am definitely very cautious. I'm an engineer, so I'm an analysis paralysis type person.
Yeah.
Which works really well in my science job, where I have to just make sure that everything is exactly correct. But it doesn't work very well in a small business sense.
Right.
Where I want to think about everything and run numbers and see numbers. So the more I've stepped away from that, and just Rory will call me with the things that he needs my advice on, it has worked a lot better. It has worked a lot better because that's who I am. And it works very well for me in science. It works well for me in MMA. It works well for me as a coach. Like my lesson will look like the outline of a master's thesis before I teach it. And that takes weeks and stuff. I do something similar almost every time I teach anything. So it works in some areas, but like as a businessman, it doesn't work. It gives me anxiety. Numbers, like daily numbers, they're like, check your daily numbers. I'm like, don't tell me the numbers. I do not.
For the love of God, do not tell me the numbers.
Yeah.
I do not want to know what the numbers are.
too much worry.
Just call me when you need some advice. I'm very good at advice.
Gentlemen, camp starts in 5 minutes. What do you want to close with so that way nobody misses anything?
We are definitely not your normal guests. I mean, I like the other podcasts better, but I do listen to this podcast also. I am a fan. And you've had just some amazing people. So I feel sort of even weird just being on this podcast, right? Because it's not an MMA. We didn't talk about MMA or coaching or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm pretty awesome.
We've actually talked about all that.
I'm pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I actually think that they've been pretty good guests.
They've been amazing, yeah.
You only missed it once or twice, man.
What'd I do?
Only got off track once.
I didn't get off track.
You did. One edible part. Just one.
People just want to hear authentic people, and that's what they got. I don't think they wanted to hear you talk about Forrest.
I appreciate you
Brian.
having us on.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That was my honor for sure.
Dude, that stuff's boring.
Yeah,
And a long time ago. Certainly a big part of our history, but
I think
none of that shit defines me. My own wins and losses, my fighters' wins and losses.
I know, but how awful would it be if it did?
Well, there are people
terrible.
that it does.
It would be
Those
terrible.
people are sad.
And I'm glad. I made a conscious decision to not take mercenaries. I know it has a negative connotation, but we had a lot of guys from different places who had a skill set, and they came to us for the room and for my coaching to fix that skill set. And it was fun for a while, but it's not fulfilling. And I'd rather now not ever have a guy reach the world championship level, but I'd like to go to war with a lot of people that start from day one with me. And even if all it is going to war in the middle of Alabama somewhere for some amateur title, I'll do that for the rest of the time, as long as they're willing to work. But I can't. It was just a decision. I need to coach a very specific kind of person. I need to coach a person that is totally self-motivated. I will never ask where someone is or why someone isn't doing something. I will never dog anyone what they're supposed to be doing. It's just not my nature.
It's not quite the close he was looking for, but
Hey, I'm Adam Singer. I am co-owner of SBG
you already said that.
Athens, Georgia.
You already said it.
What do you want to close with, Travis?
Thank you for the opportunity to be on with you.
I would two things. I think sometimes both these guys maybe don't get the credit that they deserve, and that's why I wanted to have them on mostly because I think a lot of people don't know the history. I know that they say it doesn't define them, but it definitely played a very significant role in our organization and SBG. SBG wouldn't be what it is had the Singer brothers not been a part of it early on. And I just hope that the people listening to this realize how pivotal a role these guys played. And, Adam is a world-class MMA coach. And that doesn't get said enough. And part of the problem is we have a lot of good coaches in this organization, and we have some that are currently doing some killer things.
Sure.
But I look at Adam as being the first, kind of the pioneer who kind of blazed a trail for the guys that are in the limelight right now. So I'd like to close with that. I'd like to close with the fact that, Rory Singer fought in the UFC. I mean, that's pretty legit. One of your gym owners, third season of The Ultimate Fighter. If it wasn't for The Ultimate Fighter, there would be no UFC right now. So I'd just like to give these guys some credit. Put them in the spotlight a little bit. Obviously, you can tell they're not going to put themselves there.
Yeah.
We left SBG for a little while so we could all grow. And when we came back to each other, we were all in a similar place in our lives. We had kids and we had families and we had grown up. And we got back together at that point, and I think things have really grown and snowballed, and the SBG brand, I think there was a great timing with Kavanaugh and Connor at that point and all that stuff going on. But now, I think we're the finest martial arts organization in the world. And I'm so proud to be here at camp this week, and I can't wait to just hang out and roll. You owe me a gi rematch now that you're a blue belt.
You're probably going to try to ankle lock me again, aren't you, son of a bitch?
I am going to certainly go for your
that was a good ending.
I will not.
I called that in the damn meeting last time. No ankle locks.
Don't
and
you
you're
know
like,
anything? You don't tell a bunch of people what not to do to you, because it's all I had in my head.
I thought you were my friend.
As soon as you
I
started,
thought you were my friend.
Don't think of the pink elephant.
At least it took you 10 minutes to get there.
Yeah, but that was it. I was done at that point. I was ankle deep, baby.
We were rolling and he just died. I'm like, God damn it. I think I told him as he was grabbing it too. I was like, I told you no.
I won't do it tonight until we're 10 minutes in. So
I will not touch your feet.
I actually don't care. I just need to learn better defense on it anyway.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
That's it for this week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I apologize for the delay in between episodes, but I'm doing the best I can. Try to limit the number of times that I let myself and other people down, but I am only human. Believe me, there's nothing unique about me. What is new? Thank you for everybody who has written reviews and rated the podcast on iTunes. I just created a new I didn't create a new sweatshirt design. I reloaded the sweatshirts that I previously had and sold out of. I made a mistake. I posted a picture of the blue one. That's because I'm an idiot. It was actually going to be black. I think they've already sold out again, so I'm working on resourcing those. There's going to be a little bit of a delay getting the black ones out because I basically screwed up everything I possibly could when it came to that order to include when they were going to arrive to me. So that's on me, but I'm trying to get it fixed. So if you want to have a little bit of a layering system to go with the fall/winter season that is upon us, check it out. Go to theclearedhotpodcast.com and click on the shop tab, and it should be right there. Or you can go to my Instagram page and click on the picture, or the link's in my bio. Whatever you want to do, or don't do anything. It's up to you. That's it. See you guys next week with another episode. There's going to be largely, I say that there's sometimes jiu-jitsu based, but every time I sit down with somebody who is in the jiu-jitsu world, we talk about so much more than just jiu-jitsu. But you can figure that out next week. That's all I got. See you.